Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple.
Erling Braut Haaland is officially a Manchester City player, and in many ways he could be the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle that Pep's been building. But does that mean he's the perfect signing? Well, in this video we'll look at his individual strengths, what he'll bring to the team, why there may be concerns about him, and my overall transfer rating.
And if you want to keep up with your favorite teams and players, check out the OneFootball app. It will give you team and player stats, transfer news, and so much more. Absolutely free through the sponsored link in the description below.
It's no secret that Haaland is already one of the best forwards in the world, and getting him at just 21 for £51 million represents a smart piece of business for the citizens. On the pitch, his physicality is one of the things that stands out about him. At 6'4", he can at times function as a target man to hold up the ball to relieve his team when they're under pressure. But his size doesn't mean he's just a target man. One thing that stands out about him in deeper zones is his pace. Against teams who play a high line, Haaland loves to stay on the defender's shoulder, forcing them either to stay deep, making room for the ball carrier on the transition, or if they look to press the ball carrier, he makes a run in behind, and once he's gone, he's a difficult man to catch. And higher up the pitch, although he's seen very much as a traditional forward, he has more to his game than that. Rather than always being central, he can be happy to drift around laterally to help to create overloads before attacking the box, particularly favouring the right-hand side. However, all of this is just icing on the cake. The things that have made Haaland the object of many clubs' desire is his incredible finishing and intelligent movement. Around the box, Haaland is rarely ever still, consistently keeping an eye on defenders to look for any room he can potentially exploit. At Dortmund, he had a strong connection with Sancho, and a common pattern was beginning central before looking to make runs into the left half space for Sancho or Reina, Brandt etc. to slip him in, where he could then unleash a shot across the goal. And in the box, he rarely makes his runs too early. By remaining slightly deeper and between the centre-backs, he's often on the blind side of at least one defender. And that, combined with his feint movements, is dangerous. This means he can make a last-minute run to the near post when the defender doesn't expect it. He can also make a feint, and if the defender tries to cover him, he can then get in on the far post. But Haaland also likes to hold his position at times to get a shot off. Of course, his height also means he's an aerial threat. And the penalty box is where he's most alive. As his career shot map shows, he understands that the highest probability of scoring a goal is closer to the goal, so we rarely see him attempt shots from range. So how could he fit in tactically at City? Well, from goal kicks and deep in open play, one thing that City sometimes like to do against higher lines is to take advantage of Ederson's long-range kicking, often through Foden and Mahrez starting high and wide to look to get on the end of this. Haaland will now be a quick enough option who's still big enough against the centre-backs to try and get on the end of these passes if they go down the centre as well. Another place he fits in perfectly is on the counter. In De Bruyne, City have perhaps the best transition midfielder in the world, aided by the pace of runners like Foden and Sterling ahead of him. Haaland fits into this perfectly as he's excellent on the break due to his pace and ability to time his runs behind the centre-backs and get into 1-versus-1 situations. But in the box is where he changes the game for City. The citizens are notorious for wasting chance after chance in most games, but Haaland's clinicality will change that. In the last 3 seasons, he scored almost 13 more goals than expected. Compare this to City's top scorer at the time, Sterling, who scored 4 less than expected, and Jesus has scored almost 8 less than expected. And this is because Haaland knows how to get into good zones in the box to finish, so his chances are of a much higher average quality, with Sterling, who also gets into good position, coming closest for XG per shot. The type of chances that City create are also perfect for Haaland. Many involve a winger or midfielder getting to the byline for a cutback, which as we discussed, he loves. But oftentimes a City player will play the perfect ball across the 6-yard box only to find no one there. Haaland on the other hand thrives on these. And despite their average stature, City are one of the most cross-heavy teams in the league, particularly through Zinchenko and Cancelo as well as De Bruyne and Mahrez. Haaland will now provide the perfect target that these players would want. So where could it go wrong with Haaland? Well, defensively he's not the best presser, in the bottom 24% of pressures per game for forwards. Admittedly, his numbers may not be too different from the City players, but City averages 10% more possession than Dortmund, and yet the City forwards still have more pressures per game. But playing style will be the major difference. Despite his size, Haaland is not excellent at playing with his back to goal. When looking to hold up the play, the ball will often bounce off of him. But more concerningly for Pep, Haaland is not great at retaining possession, with a pass completion of just 71%, putting him in the bottom 50% of forwards. To make things worse, his involvement in the build-up is extremely low, as he rarely comes deep to link up play and open up space for runners behind him, a trait that Pep values. In fact, for total touches, he's in the bottom 36% for forwards. This may be a function of the tactical system he's in, but he's had various managers, so this is unlikely. Perhaps this is a side of his game that Pep can look to develop. Lastly, his injury record is quite poor. In his 2.5 seasons at Dortmund, he's already missed 28 games through injury, and this is an area that City already struggle with, so it'll be interesting to see whether there's any improvement in this realm. Overall, I give the signing of Erling Haaland a 4.5 star rating when everything is considered, and City fans should be excited. But drop your transfer rating with the following sections down below.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you might enjoy the content available on my Patreon. Not only does Patreon help to support the continued production of content, as I am a one-man team, but it also gives you early access to videos that will come on the channel. You'll also get exclusive videos, get to vote on polls, and so much more. And it's cheaper than ever, no longer having a tier system, so everyone on the Patreon gets access to all the content. So head over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple to check it out.
And a special thanks to my patrons like PJ and Ignacio Paves.